This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 492. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy Adam Emmert as our Seattle Seahawks. Adam, we're going into a bye week, a glorious, glorious weekend where we could just sit back and watch football. I'm kind of going to miss not watching our Seahawks, but knowing they get to rest up ahead of next week's match, it's a very good feeling.
It's a great feeling. I am excited to sit and have a stress-free weekend of playoff football as we watch our team get healthier and have extra time to prepare for their next opponent. And man, it's a wonderful time to be alive as a 12, and I am fired up for the upcoming playoff, Brandon. This is fun. If you don't love this, then I don't even know why you pay attention to football. Like, just stop.
Well, it's all the more sweeter, too, because the last time that we sat here and talked about having a bye week, it's when two teams had bye weeks. They hadn't expanded the playoffs the last time when we were doing the show in 2013 and 2014. And, those were the two times that we have actually had a bye week. And so now here we are. And it feels a little bit different knowing that you're the only one.
Oh, it's far more exclusive, right? And you have to win an entire conference to do it. And not that you've won the entire conference yet. You still got to beat whoever you play in the NFC Championship game. And
but
looking
still
forward to
have
that day.
The best record in the conference.
Yeah. And just a marvelous accomplishment by Mike McDonald in his second year, John Schneider with all the moves that he's made over the past 2-3 years here to get us to this point, and to get us to a point to where we're not just like, hey, can we get in and maybe win a game, but to the point to where you look around the league and you go, we could bully the catfish out of them and that those people over there too. And I love that feeling, knowing that anybody could come in, you could go anywhere, not that we have to, but you could go anywhere and just steal somebody's lunch money. It's great.
The defense is so good. And I wouldn't have even necessarily expected to be in this position because the way this season started against the Niners, having it be that the home game that you lose just at the last minute. And because it felt like at the time that loss was going to bite us somehow. And anytime you lose close games in matchups that you feel like you should win, it hits you that way. And then to go through the season and being able to lose one that, again, you should have had against the Rams if you didn't turn it over 4 times. And then you bounce back and you maybe get one that you shouldn't have because you get a special teams touchdown and have like an incredible comeback, unlike maybe we haven't seen a team be able to come back in the fourth quarter. And, there's a couple other losses in there, too, that we don't even really need to talk about.
No, not a couple. One. There was one other loss in there at 14-3, and that was to the Bucs, a barn burner of a game. How many different games has Seattle participated in this year, Brandon, that has been the game of the year at the time? Like Bucs was that game.
Yeah, then the Rams.
Both Rams games, and then this Niners game people talked about in that way to a degree.
I don't consider the first Rams game to be that way because we lost, but I guess with the Bucs, it was a little bit different. That was another game that we should have won. For some reason, I was thinking we had 4 losses, but see, we only had 3.
No, definitely not 4 losses, only 3, and by a combined 0.5 points, I think. They were so darn close, and that's the thing that is really encouraging about this team moving forward, is that you feel like this is sustainable. And the reason you feel like it's sustainable is because of head coach Mike McDonald. His approach is so steady, and his vision is so clear, and his messaging is so precise, and the expectations are managed in such a way that everybody on the team is easily able to buy in, know exactly what their job is and how to accomplish that job week in, week out, and keep it at a level at the standard that it needs to be at to be a number 1 seed in the NFC. And that is a really difficult thing to do. I mean, you look around the league at these other playoff teams and you go, I see some big time highs. I see some big time lows in everything in between. Not the case for this Seattle Seahawks team. This is a team that week in, week out gives you a great effort in I'd say a buttoned up approach to each and every game.
Extremely consistent on the defensive side. On the offensive side, it's been this shift of how they were able to attack teams through the first half of the season, to the point where we were the thing that we were talking about the most is, can you sustain this with just JSN tearing it up? And maybe the answer to that was no, because eventually it did seem like teams shifted to be like, okay, we got to stop, getting beat by them attacking us through the air, because we've seen the Seahawks just unleash explosive plays downfield, and we can't allow that. And so we started to see a lot more of that shift of lightening the box and teams maybe daring us to beat us with the run a little bit more. And then we started to see this kind of progression through the second half of the season to where, like, yeah, are we going to be able to do this? Like, is the run game good enough to actually be able to give us a chance? And then it just seemed like it progressed through that second half of the season to where now that we're in the playoffs, it's like, okay, now this is the time. Playoff football. We saw it against the Niners. We've seen it against the Rams. Like, this feels like it can be sustainable. And so to have those two options, it also feels real good.
So it does feel great, by the way. And I just gave Mike McDonald a bunch of flowers, but let's make sure we give Klint Kubiak a bunch of flowers here.
Not too much.
Give them all of it. Whatever. I'm so tired of this. Well, if we praise our guy who's awesome too much, he might go to another team or he might not. I don't know. I'll talk to you all about that in March, right? Like right now, Klint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator, and he brought his tried and true scheme to Seattle. And the progression that you just described of the offense is very much emblematic of the cat and mouse game that goes on within the league for every team all year. As tape gets out about what you're doing, as you pointed out early in the year, beating people over the top with JSN as they played a bunch of single high. Rams switched to shell coverage and basically throw out dime more often than not, and are able to eke out a win against the Seahawks earlier in the season. You see the league take that tape, copycat league, do the same thing. And here's the thing about the Kubiak offense is that it's not one-dimensional. The run sets up the pass can set up the run, and that's what we saw with this season. The pass has now set up the run game to where you've scared everybody back to make sure to mitigate any explosives, and nobody can take the top off. Then you got Shaheed too, which scares the pants off most DCs as well and makes them do that. Well, okay, you want to play that game? No worries, because Klint Kubiak's system loves running it right down your friggin' throat. And it's his first year doing it here, and it's taken a little bit of time for it to all come together. But you can see the progression. And I'd mentioned the consistency of the team overall, and we've said this so many times on the show over the year. The difference from bad to good and good to great is literally consistency. That's what it is in this league. Everybody's talented. And when you have the most consistent, well-rounded team in football that can win in any which way because they have answers, it's hard not to think about a Super Bowl title. It really is.
I know that I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I spend my time primarily thinking about the defense. And one of the guys here, as we're talking about it out on YouTube, I went out and I clipped a few posts from X just that caught my eye. Okay. And one of these was from Seahawks Today. And so we got Byron Murphy up on the screen flexing because the Seahawks ranked number 1 in rush EPA allowed this season. So just meaning that if teams do decide to try and run against the Seahawks, they are taking their chances in scoring way down. And the thing that's the most fun about this stat is that they were so far ahead of the second team that the difference between rush EPA between first and second place was the same as the difference between second and 18th place.
That's pretty massive. Now, with that, I will take this with a massive grain of salt. I don't need EPA to tell me catfish about what this run defense is or isn't. I honestly like the idea that the
But if
difference
you can
between second
measure
and
it to
18.
where you're better than the rest of the league, the way the second place team is better than like only half of the league.
I mean, allegedly on some formula that is kept in a vault that none of us know. I don't care for the stat, but you could just look at the rush yards per game. You can look at the physicality they bring and how difficult they make it for every back each and every game. You don't need that stat with your eyeballs to go, this is a dominant run defense in the best in the league. And they are the best in the league. And I think people are finally starting to catch up with that. I think the Niner game really made a big dent in the Texans are the best defense in the league because everybody's enamored with their 2 pass rushers. Okay, cool. But at the end of the day, I've watched that Texans defense and that Seattle defense on the same field. And to quote the great Richard Sherman, y'all thought this was a matchup? Mismatch. The Seattle defense is best in the league in maybe the best we've had in 7-8 years.
Oh yeah, easy. The other stat that I saw that I think, if you're a non-believer in EPA, how about just the fact that limiting teams in explosive runs, Seahawks were far and away the best. So the fact that they're not giving up, and I feel like this idea of explosive plays probably tells the story a whole lot more because a lot of times it's those scoring drives that you see, those explosive plays that help set up, they get you to the other side of the field. They get you down into the red zone. It's those explosive plays that generally define a drive. And in the case this last week against the San Francisco 49ers, their explosive play, like their most explosive play was Jason Myers kicking it out of bounds so they could start at the 40.
For real. And it just felt like such a grind for the Niners all game. And really every team that we've played from, take whatever week. I don't know. I guess maybe the Rams in the second game, they had a big offensive day. But everybody else, it feels like it's a total slog to just get that next first down. And you're not going to rip off a 20, 30 yarder. They're going to make you earn it. And it makes it feel like every team that faces the Seahawks is going to look like the Steelers offense, which I watched that Steelers Baltimore game. And there was one drive, I think they started on their own 20 or something like that, the Steelers. And they had the ball forever, it felt like. They must have ran like 10, 12 plays, and they were barely at midfield. And that's exactly what every opposing offense feels like to me watching this defense go up against them.
Well, we did have one nice drive as part of this 49ers matchup to where they took 8 minutes off the clock toward the end of the game. That may have been one of the more fun moments is that, when you can grind out a win, for one, it just feels so dominant that everybody goes, the Niners, even though it was a relatively close score and they kind of got close when Drake Thomas picked it off right there in the red zone. I still had the Niners scored there. It's not like I was thinking, oh my gosh, the Niners are going to find a way to get back in this. It was just like, how are we going to suffocate this team? And then after getting the ball in the fourth quarter, having an 8-minute drive, and you go, see, that's what I expect.
Yeah, 100%. And I would echo your feelings when they were down there starting to get into the red zone before the Drake interception and thinking to myself, look, they score a touchdown here. That's cute. Like, it's super adorable, Kyle. Like, good for you. But I don't think the Seahawks still need to score another point and win this game from this point forward. Because, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. And congratulations to you, Kyle. But then they didn't even find the nut. They just were blind. And McCaffrey couldn't haul it in. And away we went.
Well, I think it's because just looking at the drive chart in this game, it tells the story of how dominant the Seahawks team was, even though it was only 13 points and because of a couple of missed field goals. But you look at the drive chart for the Seahawks. Okay, they turn it over on downs on the first drive. They score a touchdown on the second drive. Then they miss a field goal. Then they make a field goal. That's 4 drives before halftime. They had a couple plays before the end of the half, but it's not like they were trying to score in those final moments. They punt one time in the third quarter, kick a field goal, miss a field goal, then it's end of the game. So one punt in what, 9 drives?
Yeah.
8 real drives.
And that's what made it feel so dominant, is that every time we got the ball, even if they weren't punching it into the end zone, they were at least setting up field goal opportunities. And it felt like the game should be about a 20-point game at any given point.
Yeah.
And ordinarily, I find when defenses dominate a game, that when you listen to a lot of the commentary after the fact and those sort of things from some of the bigger names in media, they're always like, it was just a gritty performance, but an ugly game. It was a rock fight. And, Niners were always in it. And that's what you would expect to hear. But this time, that wasn't it. And this actually genuinely shocked me that almost everybody said, look, that was complete dominance. Complete dominance. They had no chance. And that's really what it was and how it felt the whole day. And it really has. I mean, just listening to some of the Niners players after, I think that was a wake-up call for that team in a bad way. Like they're waking up to their worst nightmare.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing for them going into the playoffs?
Who gives a shit? Catfish! They're gonna be a one and doneer anyways. So bye.
Speaking of being one and done in the playoffs, I thought this was kind of fun. Eagles Nation posting out on social media that Alan Eck will be the referee for Eagles versus 49ers. The Eagles are 8-1 in games he referees, including the 2023 NFC Championship. The 49ers are 3-6, and noting that Mr. Eck grew up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Look, I think the officials as a whole do a pretty dang good job, and I think they catch a lot of flack. But I do find it super interesting that last week it was the Bill Vinovich is refereeing this game and we're screwed from the Niners. And then this game for the Eagles, hey, we'll be fine because, hometown Eck is going to be there. And these are teams that are grasping for straws because they have such huge flaws that they don't know what the hell they're going to do when it gets to the playoffs. And I find it freaking amusing. I think it's hilarious.
Well, the other thing that is hilarious too was just listening to Kyle after the game talk about how, going on Saturday, it would have been so much better of a chance to have Pearsall out there, and it would have been so much better to have so much better chance to have Trent Williams out there. So yeah, we really got hosed there by having that Saturday game.
I think that's part of the reason why Kyle had such an unprepared look throughout this game is he started talking about the Saturday game almost right away. It was one of the first things in his press conference from the previous games. They asked him about the Saturday game, and he's like, oh gosh, what was his exact quote? Frustrating or something. I don't know. It was some crybaby. Catfish.
Oh, well, he said he wasn't gonna think about it for more than 10 seconds. But even though it was he was still
lived rent free in his
later.
head. Yeah, 100%. And still crying about it after the game, which is no surprise from the biggest whiner in all of sports when it comes to head coaches. And he coaches the whiner. So I guess it's on brand. I'll give him that. It's on brand.
My favorite thing about it, though, is that 49ers fans heard that. And they're like, oh, we're going to have Trent back. We're going to have Ricky back. They must have been super, super close. Well, Wednesday practice rolls around for the Niners. Trent Williams didn't practice. Ricky Pearsall didn't practice. Oh, so you're telling me they were so close that they had so much better chance that they could have played on Sunday rather than playing on Saturday, and yet Wednesday rolls around and they can't even make it onto the practice field to even participate a little bit? Come on.
Nope, couldn't do it. Couldn't get out there. But heck, if they had had that one more day,
that one more day,
they had been out there. Not the 5 or 6 that they've had up until now to be able to even get on the practice field. And again, it just goes to Kyle in the way that he operates as a whole. It's never his fault. It's always something just outside of his control, or they were just that right there, like every Super Bowl that he's catfish and choked in. And it's great. It's great. Like I love watching somebody like that and then contrasting him to the steadfast truth telling, go through it, not around it, no BS, admits to the things he doesn't know. and just doesn't gloat about the things that he does, Mike McDonald. Like, it's night and day. And I am so thankful that we moved on from a great coach in Pete Carroll, who I adored, to Mike McDonald, who I am equally as enamored with. He's fantastic. I love his demeanor.
I am. People are struggling right now, especially I think with all this news coming out of Las Vegas and Pete Carroll, and trying to maybe detract from the legacy of Pete. I don't think that there's anything that I can hear from Vegas that would make me, I don't know, like not appreciate Pete's time here as much as I did. Like, I could still recognize, okay, like they probably made the decision at the exact right time to move on from Pete when they did, because Coach Mike, I think he was going to get hired by somebody, and if it wasn't the Seahawks, like we may not have had a chance at him that offseason, and so that probably was the time. But it doesn't. Whatever Pete did in Vegas this year, and there are kind of a ton of crazy reports. Like, it doesn't mean that his time here wasn't great.
I find it interesting that, and people do this with great players, great coaches who, run out the clock wherever it is that they are and have a great run, and then aren't quite done with the game. Like, they still love the game. That's why they were great. They loved the game. And why I can't do it here anymore, is there an opportunity over there? And you go there, maybe you're past your prime, maybe the game has passed you by a little bit in whatever way. And this isn't just Pete, this is anybody in coaching, players, GMing, all of it.
Sure.
And you go there and, all right, it wasn't pretty, but you got to be there. You got to be with the fellas and do the whole thing and give it a go again. And then people want to try to tear down all of the greatness prior. For what? What are you trying to do? Like, what's the point? Are you so insecure with what you've accomplished in life you got to tear somebody else down? Did they take away Pete Carroll's Super Bowl trophy when he signed up to head coach the Raiders? I don't think they did. And not to mention the way that Pete changed football in terms of how players are treated, and the idea that you can build a positivity-based locker room and be a player's coach, but still have discipline for the most part, and really change defensively what teams did for a decade. And he has one bad year in Las Vegas where, name me a coach who's going to succeed there. I don't think there's one that exists, and you're going to tear him down. I just find it, I get pissed off, honestly, when people do this. And like, people try to do this to Emmitt Smith. You brought him up on Dan's show when we were on there. And it's like, I'm an Emmitt Smith hater, like legit, but I'm not going to take away from what he did because he went to the Cardinals past his prime. Like, well, who cares?
Right.
So weird.
Yeah. I think as a fan, it does help you to move on when you go, oh, well, a team made the right call. Or, like when Bobby Wagner went to the Rams, it wasn't even really Bobby Wagner.
No.
And speaking of Bobby, like, he's kind of the one guy who's been immune from this, right? Because he's gone to Washington and had a couple of great seasons. Yeah. He became the only guy not the only guy, but he became one of the top 3 guys with 2,000 tackles now in the NFL, joining London Fletcher and Ray Lewis. Like, and it's Bobby Wagner. Those are the 3 guys to have that many tackles. So that's pretty crazy. And if he were to come back next year, like he has the chance to go after the Ray Lewis tackle record, which I think he could do. Like, he's still able to produce, and yeah, maybe he can't cover like he could back in the day, but he's still able to find a way to contribute to these other teams and continue to put up Bobby Wagner numbers.
Maybe the best player on their defense for the last couple of years, and, which is crazy that Bobby's been able to sustain that level of relative excellence as a functional starter in this league at his age for that position. That is so violent, and we see guys exit the league quickly and unexpectedly at the middle linebacker spot. Not Bobby Wagner, tough as nails, still a future Hall of Famer and one of the greatest ever suited up for us. Nothing but respect.
trying to think of, because if you were to go, I mean, the 2020 NFL draft or 2012 NFL draft, which Bobby Wagner came out of, even when you look at the top few guys out of that draft class, you're talking Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin, Trent Richardson were top three. Those guys been out of the league for a long time. Bruce Irvin was the Seahawks' first pick. Fletcher Cox, did he just retire last year?
Yes.
I think the only guy Stephon Gilmore, I think. Is he still around or did he?
I think he might be.
He might have retired last year.
Okay.
Zeitler's still around.
There you go. There you go.
And you see offensive linemen tend to be the positions that can make it that far. Like linebackers, not so much.
Not so much.
Bobby Wagner's still kicking.
Still kicking and doing
Levante David, the other guy. So another linebacker out of that class.
Okay.
He might just have to outlast Levante David. Like when Levante David retires, that's going to be the signal to Bobby Wagner. Like, okay, I can do one more year over David.
Maybe that's his goal. Hard telling, not knowing. But it is interesting to see people try to tear down once great players for wanting to extend their careers. I think Russ fits into this bucket. I mean, there's so many people that try to downgrade what he did when he was here.
The idea that a guy can't be a Hall of Famer because he played a lot longer than this argument. Tell me how you feel about this. I think I know the answer. Russell Wilson, if he would have retired earlier, would be a lock for the Hall of Fame, and now he's not.
Yeah, there's a real simple way to put it. It's stupid with a capital S, a capital T, and a capital oopid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. The guy was a top 3 quarterback for over a decade in Seattle. And now he won a chip, went to a second Super Bowl, and now he's off the ballot. Like Eli Manning's definitely way ahead of him. Like, what are we even talking about?
I was looking at it again the other day just to refresh my mind and see, because I know Pro Bowl's not the greatest measure.
Sure.
But there is not a quarterback in the Hall of Fame. Like everybody who has made 8 Pro Bowls or more has made the Hall of Fame.
Interesting.
Of quarterbacks. And Russ has 10. 2 more than the break even. I think there was a dude who probably like an older quarterback, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but an older quarterback from way back when that had 7, and he's not in, but maybe he should be. But that was just looking at that contrast of because you tend to forget the recency bias part of it. You start to think of a guy late in his career, okay, but it doesn't detract from all of the great things earlier on in the career.
I mean, is Aaron Rodgers not an Aaron Rodgers or a Hall of Famer because he played for the Jets and the Steelers?
Yeah,
it's insane.
Right,
it's insane. Dude went to a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, and was dominant at his position for decade plus, won MVPs. And now I don't know. I find the whole thing to be silly, but that's just me. I tend to look at things in totality instead of just succumbing to the vapid attention span of most Americans in the moment.
One fun stat to look at in its totality, Polymarket Football posting out that Jaxon Smith-Njigba finishes the year 1,793 yards, 10 touchdowns, on 163 targets, contrasted with the New York Jets and their entire wide receiving room with 1,575 yards, an equal amount of touchdowns at 10, and 271 targets. So Jaxon outpacing the entire Jets wide receiver room all by himself and ending up with just as much touchdowns in the 2025 season.
There's one more stat that you left off there. JSN tied the New York Football Jets in interceptions this year as well.
He did.
So did I. Yeah.
I did too. Congratulations to all 3 of us. We have as many interceptions as the entire Jets defense. It feels good.
No, it shows a bit of the ineptitude there in Jets land, and we'll see what they do. It's funny because when we were talking a little bit before Darnold and all of that, you kind of kept throwing the Fields name out there as somebody you were interested in.
Yeah.
I said, oh, hell no. And I think we saw why.
Yeah. I still, part of me.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you're lying. I don't even know what you're about to say, but there's no way.
Anybody who goes to the Jets, I feel sorry for. And so I think that part of that is going to play into their performance. And so I hope for Justin Fields' sake that once he gets this Jets stink off of him, and maybe it'll take a year or so, maybe he can do the Mac Jones thing. Maybe he could do one of these where they go be a backup somewhere, and like Malik Willis, like he's made that. He feels like
he could be on that journey. Yeah,
he could be on that journey now. Now, I think with Malik, one of the things that I know that you said coming out of the draft was the dude's going to need time coming out of Liberty, but has all the tools. And now we're starting to see that, right? Like he's had the time to develop as a quarterback, and being a backup in Green Bay, getting his opportunity. It now looks like, the dude's actually developed into a guy that can probably start over, at least 10 quarterbacks in this league.
Oh, I think he could be a starter in this league. And the other thing that's really worked to Malik's advantage is that the league has shifted offensively to a system that fits his skill set even better than maybe when he was drafted. And we talk about Kubiak's system, and one of the reasons why he's a hot head coaching name right now is that the league has gone to more jumbo personnel, run the football, play action, get out on boots, and use your legs a little bit, have a big arm to stretch the field. And those are all things that Malik Willis did well at Liberty. And if you take him out of I'm going to sit in the gun and try to dice you up on option routes, and I've got 5 receivers out every set, a la Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, that's never going to be his game. And so with the league and most people's offenses kind of shifting more towards what we're doing here, I think that helps him. I do.
Well, I didn't post this. I didn't put this post up so that we could talk about Justin Fields and then transition into Malik Willis. No, I put it up so we could talk about JSN and his incredible season, where he did finish ahead of Puka Nacua as the top receiver in the league with 1,793 yards. Becomes, we talked about weeks ago how he was the franchise leader. He's far and away the franchise leader now. And I don't think that there's enough people talking about him as a potential offensive player of the year.
I think that's fair. I do think that he should be in the conversation. And I think one of the more impressive parts of what JSN has done this year is he's done it all, and he's done it without any drama. I mean, you talk about Puka being the next best in terms of statistics, and Puka brings a lot of baggage these days into the locker room, and JSN's none of that. I want to talk about JSN later in the show for sure.
Okay.
But I'm very proud of what he's been able to do. And you know what? I was not thrilled at his drafting at the time. I wanted a defensive tackle. Those defensive tackles have been really good, the ones that were on the board right there. Uh-huh. And maybe we could have gotten another good receiver the next year. It basically, John said, no, I'm going to do the receiver this year. I'll go get an amazing D tackle the next year. We just argued about order was all, and it's worked out beautifully. And I'm so stoked for JSN in his whole demeanor, what he brings, in the way that he's been able to break out and change a lot of the narrative around what he can and can't do on the field.
Yeah. And to do it, you brought up Puka's name. He's got Devontae Adams across the field from him. You look down in Dallas, and George Pickens, like he has CeeDee Lamb on the opposite side from him. Gosh, you even look at Jamar Chase, and he's got T. Higgins. Like, I know what you think of T, but it's still another quality receiver that teams have to worry about. And here he is up in Seattle, and we've got Cooper Kupp, we've got Rashid Shaheed, but JSN's been doing it consistently all throughout the year, and I don't think that they bring that same type of extra concern from the defense like some of those other receivers I mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. But it also goes to show just how great Kubiak's system is at being able to engineer routes for JSN to get open. And it starts with running the football so that at that point, you got to have your linebackers and stuff stepping up. He can loop in behind them, and away you go. And JSN has destroyed the league with that this year. And it's been an absolute joy to watch.
I see him do some routes, Adam, where I don't think the system has any kind of plays any kind of factor into it, because when he can stop on a dime and the defender doesn't know which way the dude's going to turn, that's just it doesn't matter what offensive system you're in.
Okay, well, let me clarify. I'm not saying that he's a product of the system. That is definitely not what I'm saying.
Okay.
But you were talking about how all these other dudes have another guy opposite of them that all except for Jamar Chase have like a legitimate receiver across from them to like draw coverage, and JSN doesn't have it. And so how is he still able to put up these kind of numbers without that other threat? So a lot of it is just his talent, right? Being a fantastic number one. But if you don't have that other guy to draw coverage, then your offensive coordinator's got to help you out there and do some things to create that space for you to be able to work in. And so I think Kubiak makes up for the lack of that second deep threat or that other solid receiver across the way from you.
One other player I wanted to be sure and talk about, and we talked about Charles Cross a little bit doing the live show the evening that his re-signing was announced, the contract extension, a 4-year contract extension. There was some question even then of whether or not that it was going to be a 4-year extension past this year, or if the 5th-year option was going to play into it too. And looking at Spot Track and based on some of the information that's come out since, it does look like it is locked in as a 4-year extension past the 5th-year option. So the 5th-year option, Charles Cross's base salary was going to be $17.5 million, and then this 4-year, $104 million contract, which we're still waiting on the details of. Yeah. But $75 million guaranteed. Again, we don't know if this is guaranteed for injury. It's probably a component of upfront money as a signing bonus, and then some injury guarantees, because you normally don't see like a $75 million upfront signing bonus. But with that in mind, it means that his contract then, if you average it out over the next 5 years, you're talking about an average annual salary of $24.3 million. And when you contrast that with the average annual contract right now among left tackles, it puts him at number 6, like barely ahead of Andrew Thomas of the Giants, who I think he just got paid this past offseason. So the point that I wanted to make with contracts is that this is the type of discount that you're getting by signing him now. He wasn't going to get to free agency anyway until it would have been this time next year where he would be even considering it. Seahawks could dangle that franchise tag potentially. But with him getting injured, maybe it made him think that, hey, taking guaranteed money now, $75 million guaranteed, that's an awful lot of money. And to do it now and still be slotted among the top 6 NFL tackles, like that feels pretty good for Charles Cross.
Yeah. Not even top of the market money this year. And right. It's so early. Can you imagine the value of this contract by year 4? I mean, it's going to look like the steal of the NFL when it comes to left tackles.
Yeah. It's probably going to look a little bit like, when you go down the side here and you look at Orlando Brown Jr., because he would have been a free agent in 2027. Orlando Brown Jr., he probably wouldn't be considered a top 15 tackle.
No. Olsen Dawkins, though.
Yeah. Ronnie Stanley, like he's a legit top tackle, but on the older side. And he has a void year in 28, and he's at $20 million per year. Again, that's $4 million difference, and a guy that probably signed his a while ago. The one that I wanted
yesterday's dollars, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the one guy that I wanted to point out on this list that was literally this 2025 season dollars was Dan Moore Jr., who was kind of the left tackle free agent target for a lot of teams. And so when we're talking about the difference in talent, Dan Moore Jr., who didn't have a whole lot of starts, but had enough to where a team like the Titans was willing to give him a 4-year contract that averages $20.5 million a year. Like, if you're ready, if you're going to move on from Charles Cross, this is the level of free agent tackle that you would have to consider, that you would hope to have available, unless you're hoping that the team is drafting, I don't know, in the top 7 or 8 again, which is not going to happen. And unless you're looking at trading away another solid piece of your team so you can get a top draft pick. This is why this makes this Charles Cross signing so important for this team, because again, you get that average to the 24 million, which now it kind of seems like a lot, but not really, because it's, again, in the top 6 or 7 of left tackles right now.
Yeah, the value is incredible, and you make a great point as to how difficult it is to get a guy that I think we both believe Charles Cross is a top 10 left tackle in the league.
Some I think he breaks into the top 10. Some people might have him in the top 15, which, okay.
Yeah, I mean, all right. I mean, you're not quite as right, but well, I'll let you do it. That's an acceptable answer.
If you have him outside the top 15, though, then you don't know what you're watching.
You're doing it wrong. But with that said, those guys don't grow on trees. They're difficult to find. It's one of the biggest holy grails in all of the NFL, is to get somebody that is both competent as a pass and run blocker. And Charles Cross has a great work ethic. He's not very injury prone. He's been a fantastic teammate, like, just awesome. You can't beat that. And this contract takes him into his year 30. Age 30. Yeah, it just only 30 years old by the time this is all said and done. In 5 years from now, I will be over 50 by the time we have to worry about left tackle again. And I think that's pretty cool. And now you talk about having your bookends locked up with the Lucas extension. Was that last year or this offseason?
It was the start of this year. It was right before this year started. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got those 2 guys locked up, 2 quality tackles, and a good draft pick in Zabel and Sundell coming on. Man, the future looks awful bright for this offensive line, especially if they can keep Benton around to continue the growth and the building of this. It's cool, man. For as many years as we've beat our heads against the wall as Seahawks fans about the offensive line, to see it start to take form, not just for this year, but for perpetuity, because don't get it twisted. 5 years from now in NFL time is 5,000 years. That's awesome. I love it.
Since you did bring up Benton, and I think because the question leaks into your mind, right, that, okay, if Klint Kubiak's being considered for an for a head coaching job, moving on from offensive coordinator, like, could he end up taking a guy like John Benton with him? And the answer is, well, Mr. Benton's under contract with the Seahawks, and now if they were to allow him to go, it would they would have to allow it unless he is being considered and hired as an offensive coordinator, which, maybe a team who has a head coach as a play caller could elevate him as an offensive line coach into an OC type position. But if he's just going somewhere to be an offensive coordinator, or to be an offensive line head coach, like, if Kubiak goes to the Ravens, which I do feel like would be the most likely option, considering his dad was a Ravens coach. Like, I feel like he probably still has some sway within that organization. And considering what we did to the Ravens organization by taking our head coach, Mike McDonald, I feel like maybe the Ravens have it out for getting a little something back. And again, that tie to his dad, Gary, like, that feels like it would be. And in terms of opportunities for head coaches out there, like, there's 2 jobs that I would go, okay, yeah, those are good jobs for an offensive coordinator to go to. And because I look at a lot of other the head coaching positions and go, yeah, if I were in that opportunity. I don't think I would go to the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think I would go to the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yeah. What's the second team?
Maybe the Falcons.
Okay.
Maybe. Just because
there's only one quality job available as of right now, and that's the Ravens position. I know some people argue Giants, and if you want to, that's fine. I think you're falling into the East Coast bias that talks up the Giants each and every year that unfortunately Clinton lives too close to and gets caught up in almost each and every year. So there's
okay,
one team
let me clarify my Atlanta stance, just because it's a division that I feel like you could be competitive in. Mm-hmm. You got Michael Penix, who, he's coming off of an injury, but I feel like a quarterback that you could be interested as a head coach in developing. And again, it's more of I could go there and take that team from third place to first place. Feels like relatively easy.
Okay. I don't think it's relatively easy to go into a franchise that is a perennial loser in my mind, basically one of the poverty franchises. I mean, they've had 2 flashes of greatness, and it's here today, gone tomorrow in their entire.
Matt Ryan in the front office now, Adam.
Well, whoop-de-doo. So Matty Mediocre can make Matty Mediocre decisions as a GM too. Like, why would I give up winning where I'm at? And it's not like you're not making anything as an offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks to take a gamble at being the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons of all teams. They just 2 and done their coach, who just tied for the division lead at the end of this year. I don't know, man. I think that's a bad job. And I think the number one thing, if you're a guy looking to get hired as a head coach and you've got the swag to do it like Ben Johnson did for 2 cycles, right? He turned down a bunch of people in the first cycle.
He turned down interviewing with Seattle.
Mm-hmm. And then decided to go back for another year. I'd be freaking stunned if Klint Kubiak took any job other than the Ravens in this cycle.
Or did they interview him? And
kind of sort of did, or talked on the phone, or I don't know, or he was on the plane to Washington, or I don't remember. But
that's what it was. Yeah. I think he decided that he wasn't going to coach about the time that we were interviewing Coach Mike. So yeah.
Hey, long story short is that you talk about Benton being under contract. Well, Klint Kubiak is under contract to coach this team through the playoffs that we're doing right now as the number 1 seed. The future in the offseason, we could talk about that all day from March till July. We've got all that time. Right now, I have no interest in the idea of where's Klint going to go, or is he going to stay, or whatever. Who gives a shit? Catfish! Like, we're trying to get a Super Bowl right now. That's it. That's all.
I think there's people that have genuine concern over continuity.
Sweet. And I will have that concern with them after we hoist the Lombardi. Like, now's not the time.
Yeah. Well, it does make it a lot more difficult for teams to hire away your coaches too, when you go ahead and you make it all the way to the Super Bowl and win it, because then there's the pressure on the organization. Oh, you got to hire your guy. You're losing time. You're not going to be competitive next year if you have to wait. Which seems like one of the silliest arguments to me. Like, you can't wait 2 weeks in the off season. Like, I know that hiring Coach Mike, like, that kind of took the coaches out of being in the Shrine and Senior Bowl cycle of being able to go and scout dudes. Okay. Like, that's why you have a scouting organization, so they could do that stuff anyway. And okay, you might not know exactly what the coach's philosophy and the types of guys that he wants, but as we've seen, okay, so he missed out on that cycle. It sounds like this isn't even that great of a draft cycle anyway.
Yeah.
Wait a couple of extra weeks so you get the dude that you want for your team.
Yeah. Is it more important to get the guy that you think is okay to be sure that he's there for Shrine Bowl? And we went to Shrine Bowl this last year. I mean, not that it wasn't an invaluable experience. Like, there's value in going there, but I'm quite certain if I had to wait like an extra 2 weeks to be sure I got the guy that I thought could be great, instead of hiring the guy that I think it might be okay, just so he can go to Shrine Bowl, I'll wait the 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Because it's a lot more important to make sure you get that hire correct. And as you pointed out, that's what the front office is for. That's what your GM is for. That's what the scouts are for. It's not like they don't record Shrine Bowl. You can't come in and watch the tape 2 weeks later. Like, yeah.
Not only do they record the Shrine Bowl and the Shrine Bowl practices, they record the interviews that they do with the players at the practices.
1,000%.
So, you have all of that. Then you can do Zoom calls with the dudes and bring them into the facility. Like, you can do all that stuff still and still have time in the months of March and April leading up to the draft. It should be plenty of time.
It should be plenty of time. I do find it amusing how many organizations, and whether that's in the business world or in the sports world, create these artificial timelines for like no reason in these deadlines that like have to be met. And you're like, really, why? Well, because it's a Shrine Bowl. Great. Like, is it really that important? I don't know. I always get frustrated by artificial deadlines and timelines that are placed upon something with urgency that when you really peel the layers of the onion back, you're like, does this really matter? And the answer's like, not really.
The only one that kind of feels like in that category is if you're a team who is firing its GM at this point, there's a little bit of that, but you still have all of those area scouts that still are doing their job. Like, they weren't let go, so they're still doing their scouting things. And again,
not only that, so let's say you're an assistant GM and you're up for GM positions and you're there and your organization goes to the championship game, right? And teams are having to wait on you. You miss Shrine Bowl, you miss Senior Bowl because you're working with your staff, right? And you might not even miss those. You might go there as a member of the team that you're currently on. You're still doing your job. You're still evaluating these players. You've been doing it this entire time. It's just for the team that you're on currently. So what, you like forget all that when you go to the new team? No, I'm pretty sure you bring all those scouting reports and all the things that you think about these players with you when you go to the new team. Right. And so I just, okay. Like, if people want to get all twisted about it, they can. It's just getting antsy for the sake of being antsy.
We've gotten on some weird tangents in the show this week.
Bye week, man. Bye week.
I suppose it does feel like a bye week.
Well, this is exactly my point, Brandon, is like, we went on with Dan and we talked a lot about the future, which was cool. And I enjoy being on with Dan. He's freaking sweet. Love that dude. Listening to a bunch of shows and different Seattle media, a lot of people talking about Klint and the future going forward and all that. And I'm just sitting here being like, my dudes, like it's playoffs. It's a week went by. We just stopped the Niners. We're gonna watch the Rams lose to Carolina because their whole team is imploding. Like this is great. Let's talk about that. But everybody wants to talk about what's happening in the offseason. Okay.
You're right. You know what? We haven't yet talked about some playoff football that is coming up ahead this weekend. Why don't we get to it after the break?
Okay. We could have done it before the break too, but that's fine.
I need a break.
Yes.
As we move into the second half of the show, Adam, before the break, we were talking a little bit of playoffs and how the Rams are doomed, not only because we broke them a couple of weeks ago, but if you watch That's Good Sports and you watch the curse wheel, which we watched a couple ahead of the 49ers matchup, the curse wheel did it break and then he respun, which generally after a respin, you get favorable
curse, anti-curse.
Curse, yeah.
Blessing. Yeah. I think it landed on 666, and that was Jawan Jennings or something like that. And then, but kind of like backspun to something else. I don't know. But long story short, it was just kind of on a whim. Perna spins it again. He's like, oh, Seahawks, and click, and then hangs up the video, basically, right? And I think everybody in the comments and everybody who has ever watched the curse wheel, we all know that second spin doesn't count.
Yeah.
And clearly it didn't. And
unless it just worked on Jason Myers.
Maybe. The funny part is that the week before it had cursed the Patriots against the Jets, and clearly they beat the holy tar out of them. But then the Diggs stuff comes out and the other player and like all that. So
Barmore.
Yeah, it was just a belated curse. So I'm happy to have avoided that again, and I'm elated that it legitimately on the first spin landed on the stupid Rams.
It feels good, especially with them going to Carolina. It does feel to me like we're on a collision course with that team to see them again, and whether it's in the divisional round or the championship round. But there are those questions of, did they really play the Cardinals all that tough for a Cardinals team that had kind of packed it in, and yet they were still within 3 points of the Cardinals going into the fourth quarter? Like that, I would be, as a Rams fan, legitimately worried about my team.
And you should be, because it's been pretty bad since we came back and beat them legitimately and took the NFC crown from them, our NFC West crown, and the number 1 overall seed in the NFC crown from them. And they tucked their tails and went back to LA, and then have struggled ever since. And it's glorious to watch. And you make a great point. McVay, when asked about, are you playing a lot of your guys in Arizona, blah, 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 he's like, oh yeah, because he knows that it hasn't been good.
Yeah, he said we have to get better.
Literally, yeah. And they didn't. They struggled. It pulled out a game against a bottom 2 team in the league who was about to fire their coach the next day. That's pathetic. And even Vegas has Rams 10.5, 10 points, 9.5 points, wherever you see your numbers, right?
Yeah.
Over Carolina in this game. And every time I see it, I just want to look at the screen and say, we sure? Are we really sure?
Yeah, because we already saw the Carolina Panthers beat the Rams, and Rams fans will say, oh, well, it was raining and, the ball was slippery. Well, Carolina plays in wet conditions too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bryce Young probably has tiny hands. He was able to hold on to the football, apparently.
Absolutely. And look, you played and you lost. I mean, I know that you guys are in geographical proximity to Crybaby Kyle, but you don't want to be taking those excuses and everything and running it with them like the Whiners do. I mean, if you want to, and you want to, become even more of a degenerate franchise, you're welcome to do it. I wouldn't hurt me at all to watch LA spiral into nothingness. But at where we're at now, I don't know. People keep saying, as you just did, it feels destined that we're going to see them. I don't know, man. I think this is about a 50-50 shot whether or not we're going to see the Rams again. I don't think this is anywhere close to a certainty.
If it's not the Rams in the championship game, then it's got to be the Eagles.
Does it though? I honestly, this year, I don't know that you can look at this bracket and be like, all right.
Well, it's not the Packers in the championship game, because if the Packers survive round 1, they're coming here for the divisional round.
True fact. Okay. And that makes sense to me, because obviously we just have to win the one game to be in that championship game. But man, I don't know that I look at any of these teams, whether it's, Eagles, Niners, Rams, Carolina, and go, oh, they're locked to win 2 games.
No, but one of them will.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of them will, no doubt about it. But
you didn't mention the Bears. I don't know if you didn't mention them because you forgot about them or because you're actually rather high on them.
I forgot about the Bears because they have half a team, and that's what's difficult for me to get behind there. Can't play defense, can't win in playoffs. That's just how it is. Sorry.
Yeah. If you give up 30 some points to that Niners defense or that Niners offense that we just saw.
Yeah.
You're probably, you have half a team.
Yeah, you're a dumpster fire on defense, and that it's not going to go anywhere. So I don't know, man. I don't give the Rams any more or less of a shot than generally, including the Panthers, any other team to win their 2 games and get to the championship game. I really don't.
I do like the idea of, and the tie back of Dave Canales being on this Panthers team that going in with a losing record, facing a former Super Bowl winner in the wild card round. I like how the circle comes back around.
It's pretty fun. And I'm rooting for Canals. I'm a huge Carolina Panthers fan this weekend. Everything is said about Bryce Young being not an NFL quarterback goes out the window for this one game. And I can't wait to watch the Rams go down.
So we got that game on Saturday, and the Packers Bears one is a 1-2. I think I do want to watch because I think the Packers have a legitimate shot, especially based on the way that they've played the Bears the last two games. Like they won one, they should have won the other one, and I think that they could end up being the team that comes to Seattle the following week.
I think they're the next most complete team in the NFC behind Seattle.
Oh, okay. The next most complete team. Explain yourself.
Explain. Well, I'm watching the Rams have their struggles and their struggles on the back end defensively in particular. And I've listened to a fair amount of Rams content here over the last couple of weeks to kind of see where they see this team going and how it's performing. And there's a lot of doubt in the front four in the pass rush. And a lot of people saying that Shula's a dumpster fire and they need to get rid of him. Oh. So there's that. So the defense for the Rams.
I thought he was going to get hired as a head coach somewhere.
Well, I think half the people in LA are praying to God that is what happens there. So Shula, that defense, and then the offense struggling the way that it has, that gives me a lot of concern for the Rams going into this playoffs, to be honest. And then you look at Panthers, we all know the problems there. Solid-ish defense. An offense that's limited by a limited quarterback. So we know that's
good
how
run
that
game.
is.
Can be good.
Can be good. Yeah.
Robert Hunt should be back for that offensive line. That should help him a little bit.
Absolutely. The Bears, as we just talked about, half a team. And then Philly, you can put them in the half a team category right now. And basically anybody in Philly, if you got your hopes pinned on winning a Super Bowl this year, you're really thinking we just need Jalen Hurts to become playoff Jalen Hurts again, and then we'll be fine. And I don't know, man, that whole turn the switch on in the playoffs and then make it happen thing, it's difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. And so I look at that team and go, pretty darn good defense. That offense is nothing to write home about in any way, shape, or form. And let's see, who am I missing here then? And then, Niners, obviously their defense is a disaster and their offense is completely overrated. So whatever for them. And then I look at the Packers, and Hafley's got that defense playing solid defense. It's not as dominant as it was when Parsons was there, but it's solid. An offense and an offensive scheme with LaFleur that I think is a really good one, and one that I've watched over the years and been like, man, I do like the way that they get after it. They've got enough talent in the receiving core to do some things. And then Josh Jacobs is top 4 back in this league? Top 5? He's a freaking awesome running back. And offensive line's decent. Jordan Love has had some playoff moments. And I look at all that and I go, I don't see any demonstrative weaknesses. I don't see the peaks out of them either, but they're a professional football team, and on any given Sunday can give somebody a run. And that's why I say they're the next most complete team.
Sure. I think the thing that's going to be real tough is with Jordan Love having been out for these few weeks, and I guess I'd have a hard time with them being in Chicago thinking that they'd be able to get out to a quick start, and maybe they can, but I think there might be
they just have to play 7-on-7, right? Like they could just throw it into the end zone and just score touchdowns, because who on the Bears is gonna knock the ball down?
Yeah, well, or they could actually go toward running the football, which is probably something that they should do. But I am baffled at some teams to where they don't. It seems like they'll be running teams, and then they'll get to the playoffs and be like, oh, now we want to be a passing team because that's how you win in the playoffs. And they go completely away from it. And it baffles me every time that, and maybe it was more the Ravens that fall into that category in past years.
Yeah. That's brutal. They did it. They did it in their last game of the year. This year, all of a sudden, just forgot that King Henry had over 100 yards in the first half. I can't figure. I guess that's why John Harbaugh doesn't have a job anymore.
I suppose. Well, We don't have to worry about the Ravens in the playoffs. We barely have to worry about any AFC team being in the playoffs until we get to the Super Bowl. So whoever that ends up being, we'll worry about it then. Maybe we'll talk about it the championship game weekend when it's down to 2.
All I know is there's a bunch of very excited young children in Africa that can't wait to be putting on some AFC Super Bowl championship gear here at the end of the season.
Yeah, that does feel the most likely, but especially when it's going to be our Seahawks coming out of the NFC. And those people who are here to watch it along with us, our executive producers, we've got DCH, we've got Ryan Peterson, our YouTube live executive producer. We've got Brian Shaw, JC Schilling, and the 313th, and of course, Stephen Kirkpatrick, who came in with the $13.03 score donation. I've never been happier to get a score donation like that when it's a win over the stupid San Francisco 49ers, and a dominant one at that.
Heck yeah, man. And it was easier on his pocketbook. So that worked out well all the way around. And yeah, especially in a victory that I think gives all of us Seattle fans a tremendous amount of confidence going into the bracket here.
We also got a $14.31 donation from Robert, who checked back in with us saying, so I wore my Cam jersey and we got Sam Cam Chancellor. So hence the 1431. Sam Cam Chancellor, darn old. Not saying it was me, but it was me. Oh, because that was after the game where he threw the interception and then he knocked the ball loose. And so we got Sam. That was, it came in a little bit late, but
gotcha.
So we didn't talk about last week. We're talking about it now.
No, that's awesome. Love that. Anytime you can bring the great Cam Chancellor into the conversation, I'm all for it, and appreciate that a ton, man. Thank you.
Wanted to thank Preston Norvell, who sent a super sticker via YouTube after we finished up. Sent $19.99 to us and said, more dominant than I imagined, honestly. The complimentary football on this team is more than we've seen in a decade, if not ever.
Hey, me and Preston, we're seeing this thing the same way. Most complete team, especially on the NFC side.
And we have Brandon in Rigby, Idaho, who came in with a $12.12 donation via PayPal. You can donate via PayPal by going to Seahawkerspodcast.com, clicking the donate button. And Brandon says, I've been a proud, shameless mooch of the Seahawkers podcast for over a decade. Laughing, learning. Yeah, decade, Adam.
Yeah.
Laughing, learning, and living rent-free off your brilliance. Mostly Brandon. Just kidding, but seriously.
No, but no, not kidding.
I have done my part by spreading the 12's gospel far and wide, but my wallet's been stuck in MOB coverage. No more. It's finally time to go value for value and give back to the voices that kept my Hawks heart beating through every glorious high and painful low. To my fellow longtime freeloaders, if this pod has ever made you laugh, yell at your phone, or believe again on a gloomy Sunday afternoon, now is your moment. Now is your time. Chip in, show some love, and help keep the magic alive. Every little bit moves the chains. Catfish the stupid playing cards. Catfish the stupid lambs, and let's not forget who we hate the most. Catfish the stupid 40 whiners. Go Hawks for Brandon.
Oh, catfish them all. Brandon, you're awesome, dude. And appreciate that a ton. And, you know, we do joke about the freeloader grace period of a couple of years and all of that. And, you know, we've said this before, but honestly, too, if people just can't afford it this day and age to be able to, you know, chip in monetarily, I totally get it. Not a problem. And Brandon went the other route. He said he was spread the gospel. I love the build up in his email talking about the whole range of emotions that I'm sure that we, or especially me, make people feel on any given listen to this show. And if you can do that, if you can just help spread the word and get us just a little bit closer to some of our bigger goals, we appreciate that, man. Bring in more little flockers. That more than makes up for it. And thank you for the donation, bud. Appreciate it a ton.
Well, and I'm sure we have a lot of folks out there to help thank as well, because we passed 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that, again, if you're not able to support the show monetarily, of course we understand. But yeah, it helping spread the word. It helps us. We've been doing this now for as long as we have, since 2013. And it's because people, you know, tune in every week and listen to us and send us emails and tell friends that, hey, you got to listen to the show. That's what helps. That's what's got us to this point.
It does. It helps keep us motivated to do it and keeps us innovating and trying new things and trying to come up with new shows and adding shows as we have over the year. We started out, this was just a 1 show a week kind of deal. And
show a week, no video. Now here we are doing video, doing multiple shows.
Yeah, 5-6 shows a week, depending. And so we try to bring the value back to you guys, and we do appreciate it. You guys really are. We say this is a show by 12s for 12s, and it genuinely is true. I mean, we're just a couple of fans. It is your guys' fandoms that drive us forward, and just forever thank you.
Well, one of those 12s who comes in each and every week and provides value to the show by being our Pick'em League overlord, it's Evie. Dear underlings, Happy New Year. You did it. You won your mini league and are the top seed in the playoffs, and you did it with good Hawkra, as you all picked the Seahawks to beat the 49ers. Dad was extra happy, as one of the other dads at my sister's cricket team is a big 49ers fan. He has spent all weekend planning which top to wear to training tonight. This week's winner was Woolen with my homies with 12 correct and the closest score prediction. Overall, Obu's daddy is still out on front with 189. To be honest, I think we can declare him the winner now. 5 points back. 5 points ahead. Wow. You might be right, Evie.
Yeah.
5 points back, but Obu's daddy can't quit. You got to keep going through the playoffs. So good reminder there that, yeah, you may be out front, but you still have to pick these playoff games. And who knows? As strong of a season Obu's daddy's had, there's potential to fall here in the playoffs. So keep on going. But those just hoping that might happen. 5 points back. Love is all we need on 184. Joint third is Rosie. Boise Hawk. And Dad on 183. Just getting ready to pick badly in the playoffs and drop to his traditional 6th place.
Hey, man, got to be consistent.
Making up the top 5 is Barry the WC on 182.
Hey, well done, Barry.
Nice job, Barry. We have a Commanders fan in our midst in the top 5. We'll have to find him a non-Seahawks prize if he's able to hold on in the top 5. Or I just send him a Seahawks prize, and eventually we convert Barry over to Seahawks fandom.
I mean, he's one more Jaden Daniels catastrophic injury away, right? Right?
We don't want to root for injury, though.
Well, I'm not rooting for injury. I'm just saying, if it happens, I think that's what would be. That's got to be the final straw, right? But maybe with Schneider, he's got renewed hope. You never know with Barry.
Yeah. Enjoy the week off and the free choice picking. Although Dad says no one should be allowed to pick the Rams, and see if we can have reverse Hawker on them, beating the Panthers. Go Hawks! Love, Evie. Adam. When Evie sent this, I don't think she was aware of the curse wheel landing on the Rams. And so now I think for those of you who are picking in the Pick'em League, just know that you have that little piece of information to go off, and maybe you should pick accordingly.
So do we just up the Hawkra and just everybody, we just make it a commandment for this week? Everybody picks against the Rams and pile on with the curse wheel?
Here's the thing. That was a suggestion by Evie's dad, Hugh. That was not a declaration by Evie.
Oh, okay. All right. So if it wasn't a declaration from the Overlord, then it can't be just law.
I mean, if Evie would have taken the suggestion from her dad and then declared it law as Pick'em League Overlord, then I think we would have something to say. But as the Overlord, she did not declare that. So we're declaration free, but I do feel like it's a heavy suggestion.
Well, let's just treat it like a, executive action where you go to war with a country without congressional approval, because that would be a law, right? Whereas it's more just kind of a suggestion that we're going to go to war. So let's do that.
Okay. There you go. All right. Well, big thanks to Evie. A big thanks to Hugh. Congratulations on currently being in the top 5. Don't screw this up this year, Hugh. You got this.
Yeah, man. Just get comfy at 6th. It's a nice spot to be.
And we've got an email from John the Bar Davison. Says, hello, fellas. So, squeaky bum time? Not for 1 minute. Watching through fingers? Not once. We dominated them. We suffocated them. We were all over them like a rash. I loved it from start to finish. This was possibly one of the best ever completion of a game plan that I have ever seen. The whole team was magnificent in all areas from start to finish. Then we could sit back and watch everything unfold on the Sunday night while we all smoked our victory cigars. Life doesn't get any better. Oh, wait. And we got a week off to heal and plan our next game, and we're at home. Although going away doesn't seem to have bothered us. I think my new is Gray Zabel, though. It's hard to relate to an O-liner on the Seahawks who can block, but he certainly can. The best I've seen since Steve Hutchinson. A.J. Barner caught my eye, too. This is a tight end who can block all right. So, I got paid out on my bet at 8-1 for the division and invested some of the profit on the Super Bowl win at 4-1. Remember, in September, they were 66-1. If only I had the courage of my convictions. But let's not be greedy. Oh, but why not? If you back them at 66s, you are better at life than Skip Bayless. Go Hawks! John Davison. Thanks, John.
Yeah, go Hawks, John. Love that. Hey, congrats on the 8-1 bet. That's amazing. And I think we never really do divisional bets on Blue Friday bets, but I think I would have taken that bet too. But it is fun to see the Hawks odds for winning the Super Bowl be so much higher than they were back in September, in earning that respect, in just making everybody stand up and notice. It's been great.
From 66-1 to 4-1, it makes you think that maybe Coach of the Year is a possibility for our head coach, Mike McDonald.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he should definitely be in consideration. And because I think what's funny is at this point in the year, everybody forgets what the tenor of the conversation was around the Seahawks at the beginning of the year, where this was going to be a terrible year. It's a total reset, blah, 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 right? They won't win more than 6 games. We saw that all over the place. What was the over under from Vegas this year? Was it like 7.5?
It was either 7.5 or 8.5.
I believe it was under 8.5, because it was like, I remember being extra offended that it wasn't even in 500 land, right? Yeah. Like it was a losing record. And so you talk about Vrabel for Coach of the Year because expectations were relatively low, and then he's done really well against the last place schedule. Okay, cool. Like that's great. I mean, he's a viable candidate, no doubt about it. But Seahawks, low expectations, now a number 1 seed, which the Patriots are, and they did it with a second place schedule. So a much more difficult road in the hardest division in football. I think he should get heavy consideration. I really do.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. The East Coast bias, knowing me, knows that it's going to be Vrabel.
Yeah, it will be. And it's going to be annoying. And John won't get Executive of the Year. It'll be annoying. And then we'll just have to, lick our wounds from the Lombardi trophy. Like we'll just have the Lombardi trophy, and that's going to make us all feel better about all that. It's going to be great.
I know,
It'll
but
be the South
you know what? I want to be like Veruca a little bit and say I want it all.
Well, so do I. But nobody cares. Nobody cares if you want it all.
Let's get on to some do better and better at life, Adam.
All right, man. Well, my do better this week is for an organization that continues to slip further and further down in my organizations that I take seriously in terms of stat keeping and all of that. Because there was a time when PFF, when it first came out, it was new, it was exciting, it kind of matched up with what you saw, but you're still trying to figure it out. And like, is this valuable? Is it not valuable? Chris Collinsworth says it is every time he chortles about it on Sunday Night Football. So yeah, I mean, let's see where this goes. And I've watched this over the years, and the final straw has now broken the camel's back for me with the fraud that is PFF.
Ooh.
2 games in a row now, Brandon. 2 games in a row where Sam Darnold has a 56.5 PFF rating against Carolina and then a 60.2 against San Francisco. Okay. Delightfully mid.
Yeah.
Okay. So he played the Carolina quarterback that first time, right?
Right.
Right. Who had 54 passing yards, and it looks like he should go back to Alabama. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sam Darnold against him, 56.5, and they had Bryce Young at 54.2. 2 whole points different.
Basically,
those games were relatively equal.
and they said that they looked about the same in that game?
And they looked about the same. And it's unbelievable. So first off, that was one where I was just like, you got to be kidding me. This is a complete catfishing joke. So there was that game. And then I mentioned the San Francisco game.
Yeah.
Sam, 60.2, who was whatever he was, 70% completion, 198 yards. No touchdowns, no picks, just played a solid
goal line throw where he could have tossed it out to Charbonnet, right?
Yeah, but solid game. So he ends up with a 60.2 for that game. And then Brock Purdy, who had a pick and was just under siege all night and was just throwing dirt balls all over the place, he ends up with a 76.
Whoa.
76.
What?
There's nobody in this world that can watch that football game and go, yeah, I think Brock Purdy had a better game than Sam Darnold. You don't have eyeballs. You didn't watch this game. What a catfishing joke. Like, I am done with PFF forever. Do not ever come at me in any comment or in any argument in Discord or anything with a PFF grade ever again, even if it supports my argument. They're a complete joke. None of this makes sense. And they need to not only do better, they just need to fold up shop. Get out of here. Nobody needs you.
It's over. It's over for PFF. Their eyeball tests against quarterbacks has completely blown it. So you're not just willing to move on you're willing to move on from everything for just because of quarterbacks? Like nothing else matters?
No, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay. So this is a long building thing. And to put a little more context on it, listening to the fellows on the O-line committee podcast, guys who played offensive line, guys who train offensive linemen now, and Alex Boone, and guys who rep offensive linemen as an agent in Jeremiah Searles, they are so indignant towards PFF in the scores that they give offensive linemen because it is so bad. Like, they'll be like, we broke down the tape and they said this guy sucked balls, but he did exactly as he was coached to do, and he had a really good game.
Yeah,
a really good game. He's like, never look at these. It's absolute garbage. So that's just another data point, a ton on top of how many other times that you've gone and looked up PFF scores. And you brought up one back in the day, like Bloomy had brought up some PFF scores for Zabel and Tomlinson. And
Laken Tomlinson this year had about a similar grade as Gray Zabel did this year, even though Laken Tomlinson got cut from his team and is now third string on the practice squad for the Ravens, who are out of the playoffs.
Correct. And that's just it. Like, none of this makes sense, and it's garbage. It's garbage. You can go back and you can find a zillion examples.
Oh, yeah, there was a game. Nick Eamon-Maury had a game a few weeks ago where he had an incredible game, like had a hit on the quarterback, it might even been a game where he had a pick, and I remember seeing, like, he was the lowest ranked defensive player at, like, 60 coming out of that game. I was like, did we watch the same game? Like, okay, maybe I think it was one of the games where they gave up a lot of tight end yardage downfield. Was it trying to think of what game that was that they maybe got beat by the tight end a little bit. But yeah.
No, he gave up like 2 catches to McBride or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Exactly. But that's the whole point, right? Like you can't even like, oh yeah, no, he legitimately had a bad game that one game. And I could see why he was graded the lowest on the team. Like it's not there. It's not on the tape. So like these are just made up numbers. And then the thing is that the way that it's put together is secret.
Sure.
Like that's why I feel about EPA the same way I feel about PFF. It's kind of the same thing.
Tell us how you get to your numbers, and then we can.
I looked it up.
We can diagnose then what exactly went wrong.
No, it's based off of analysis of the last 12 years is how they come up with the expected average point for any given play.
For EPA, yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, by whom? What are we analyzing? How come this doesn't always line up? Like, I don't know. Again, voodoo magic numbers, PFF is even worse than that. They can go to hell. I'm done with them.
I think it was the Falcons game because I think it was Kyle Pitts had a decent game where like he had some crazy catches where Eamon was underneath and like they just floated. Kirk Cousins like floated over the top of Eamon and Pitts made an amazing catch.
Yeah, sometimes you get got. Like, does that factor into the grade that the throw was one of the last good ones Kirk Cousins is ever going to make and one of the only good catches Kyle Pitts is ever going to make in this league? Like, does that get factored in? Probably not. Same with EPA.
I mean, it must have if they gave Nick Eamon a bad grade for that game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my do better this week, Adam, is for people online, specifically on X, who are arguing with Grok, the AI.
Who?
It's whatever this. People will. So the new thing that was kind of funny this past week is they would ask Grok like to put up 4 things and they'd ask him to take one away. So on this particular post, it showed the NFC West quarterbacks. It showed Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray, and Matt Stafford. And somebody says, ask Grok to take away the worst quarterback on this list. And the one quarterback that they took off was Matt Stafford. And so you have people underneath this post arguing with an AI chatbot on the reasoning that went into removing Matt Stafford from this list. And Grok, I guess to its AI credit, gives like an actual reason. And it had to do with quarterback longevity, which it wasn't part of the question in the first place, but whatever.
Matt Stafford's played forever through everything.
My point is that you have multiple people online then underneath this post arguing with not a person who has a take, of why this is. They're arguing with a piece of software that what it determined to be whatever it was is incorrect. Why are you wasting your time with this? All it is a chat bot that you can kind of interact with. And okay, so it came up with a reason that you disagree with it. You know what you could do is just keep scrolling. You don't have to interact with it at all. You don't have to tell it it's wrong because what does it matter? Do better.
Oh my God, do better. Like, what? I think Grok got to work for PFF. It sounds like when I hear its analysis, but yeah, if this is a great example as to why all of this AI bullshit is bad for all of our deals. It's bad for all of our deals. Nothing good is going to come of this when you look at it in totality in 15 years from now. Don't consume AI slop. Don't interact with Grok, or don't ask Chat GPT how to plan a catfish date. I saw a commercial for that the other day. You know what you do? You plan a date. Think of something fun to do. Take person there. Have a great time. Get married. Like, this isn't hard. You don't need to rely on somebody else to do all your thinking for you. And then when it does it and gives you something stupid, clap back at it and have an argument with the inanimate catfish object. It's like yelling at a chair. What are we doing? Get rid of this crap. This is going to be the downfall of civilization. I hate AI. I want nothing to do with it. My dad actually sent me something the other day, and it was Josh Allen saying stuff that he didn't say at the podium about something or other. I don't know.
I saw a Pete Carroll one. The Pete Carroll one I saw was amazing, by the way.
There you go. Dad's like, did you see this? I was like, hell no. I don't watch that AI crap. It's garbage. It rots your brain, and you're unloading your critical thinking to something that thinks Matthew Stafford is the worst quarterback in the NFC West. Don't do it. You might as well employ PFF to do your thinking for you.
Hey, that would actually, at least it's a human that you can argue with and
allegedly.
With. Yeah. I don't think that they would come up with Matt Stafford as the worst quarterback in the division, but you never know.
You never know. Wow, that's a great do better by you, man, because, oh, my goodness.
The Pete Carroll AI clip I saw, and the reason why I knew it was AI, he was just completely trashing Geno. And I'm like, okay, well, one, Pete would never say this, but I'm going to watch it because it was an entertaining rant by Coach Carroll, watching him swear up and down about Geno Smith and how much he sucks.
Yeah.
But then if you watch to the end of the video, Pete Carroll walks away from the podium and he's in his tidy whities. It was just a fun closer to the entire video if you stayed along for that little Easter egg at the end.
Sounds like brain rot to me. That's for sure. It's like, Doc, it's not dealing with reality. That's what really bothers me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So fake. But one of the things that's not fake is people that are better at life than Skip Bayless, Brandon.
Yeah.
Am I better at life than Skip Bayless? Goes to a very real man, a man who's led the league in receiving yards this year, a man that dons the number 11 and toasts people all the time, all over the place, all over the field, unguardable, uncatchable, the best receiver in the game right now, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, who has a lot of fans in the world, Brandon. And, you know, I love JSN because he doesn't bring a lot of drama around and all of that. Doesn't have that diva wide receiver stuff, but I still want him to catfish talk like a little bit.
A little bit.
Because I love, look, in real life, I don't talk much trash to anybody about anything and anything. I'm a pretty reasonable person. I'm pretty mellow. Like, I'm way closer to Brandon than I am on the show. This is my place. This is my place to be irrational and put emotion into things and talk trash and be shit. Catfish. Like, this is the spot, right? And so when I hear next level trash talk come from our star wide receiver and just god of football, JSN, it made me so happy. They asked him about Lenore, Diamadoubi Lenore, whatever his name is.
Diamador.
What's that?
Diamador.
Diamador, what is he, a commander or something? I don't know. Yeah, Lenore saying, well, I want JSN all week. Hey, you wanted that smoke, huh? Okay. They asked JSN about it at the end of the game after he torches him on it a couple times. He even like shoved him into oblivion onto his ass at one point in the game just because he could. That was really entertaining. And they asked him about Lenore asking about, I want to guard JSN the whole time. I just can't respond to all my fans. That was so mint. That was so good. That's some of the most like demure next level trash talk I've heard come from an elite player in a long time. It was so dismissive and like just, it gave me the warm fuzzies all over. So to JSN for not only being a football god at receiver, but for being probably my favorite trash talker on the team at this point with just that one line, he is better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah, because I think you probably would think that Witherspoon is probably a good trash talker. You don't see him bring it to the podium, though.
Not really.
Really, there aren't any guys that you see bring it to the podium. And so even just to have that little bit from JSN, if I wasn't listening as close, I think I would have missed it.
Yeah, that's it. That's what got me. I was rolling like when it popped out. It was right before, it was last question. It was the last thing that popped out of his mouth before he leaves the stage. And it was perfect. Just perfect. Chef's kiss. Just perfect.
Well, another thing that has been just nearly perfect for this season, my better at life this week, our 2025 Seattle Seahawks defense, Adam. Best in points allowed on the entire NFL season. So better at life to the Indianapolis Colts for hanging 30 on the Texans in the final week of the season to help make that happen. Better at life to the Jacksonville Jaguars for being so far ahead that the Texans pulled their starters partway through the game. But that doesn't matter because, even going into that final week of the season, we were saying that our Seahawks were the best defense in football because of the opponents that they had to go against throughout the season. High-level competition that they continued to put away and limit their amount of points that were scored against them. And you see them, I talked about the run defense, them being far and away the best run defense in the NFL. So put that on top of limiting points, limiting teams on the ground, making teams one-dimensional. And it's not like teams have been all that great through the air against this defense either, especially with having Woolen and Spoon and Job, and then a rotation to Kobe, who's going to be back for the postseason, Julian Love, who missed a big portion of the season, and they found guys to fill in and help make this the best defense that we've seen in a long, long time in Seattle. So for our 2025 Seahawks defense, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Heck yeah, man. Well-deserved. And, as I'm ripping other stats and stuff throughout the show today, people may ask, so Adam, is there any points or any stats that you do think like actually measure something? Yes, actually, I think points per game is the stat. Like literally, that is the job of the defense, is to limit them from scoring. And if your defense is the best at not letting them score, then your defense is the best in football. So points per game, this is awesome. I'm glad you brought it up at the end, and they deserve all the accolades.
There was one new stat that I saw that I hadn't seen before that was havoc, a havoc stat for the defense, that it mixes in pressure and interceptions and passes defensed. And that was the one where the Texans just edged out the Seahawks. So I feel like a Texans fan probably came up with a havoc stat so that they could put in pressures and passes defensed and somehow edge out Seattle as the best defense. So screw that guy, whoever came up with that biased stat to try and get over on the Seahawks.
We've seen the pressure rates and pressure numbers and what's defined as a pressure, like that varies wildly all over the league. So whose pressure numbers? Are we talking about PFF's inflated pressure numbers? Because their pressure numbers are stupid. There's another example.
Next gen stats pressure numbers. Those are the ones where it's like if a guy's kind of in the vicinity of the quarterback, it counts as a pressure.
Right, exactly. And then offensive linemen don't get paid even though they should because of the heartbeat of the entire team. It's just crazy. Havoc sounds stupid, but as I said,
I think it sounds cool. But
it does sound cool. Yeah, you're right there. It's a great name.
Yeah, havoc stat.
Yeah,
because if we were number one, it'd obviously be legitimate. But there's probably something that they're leaving out, like I don't know, tackles for a loss that probably would have put us ahead over the Texans.
All I know is that points per game are points that were actually scored or not scored that you can measure because we can all see it on the scoreboard with our eyeballs. That makes it a real stat in comparison to EPA of some points in a genie bottle somewhere in the future that may or may not happen for one team or another. And then like this havoc stat and pressures and blah, 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 just so that you can feel like your team's good. I like your better at life, man. Points per game, best defense in the league, easy peasy. It makes sense.
On this topic, while we're on points per game, we have to find a way to get special teams scores taken out of this points per game. So it is defensive points per game because all it is points allowed, entire points allowed. So it could be a special teams touchdown. It could be an extra point for the point after the touchdown. Like that's accumulated into the defensive points allowed scored. So I think to have this accurate, how do we not have a number that takes into account scores that happen? Like, if a defensive score happens by another team, like if your quarterback throws a pick six, that counts against your defense's points allowed. That makes no sense.
Look, if we could come up with magic havoc numbers and magic PFF numbers and magic EPA numbers, we certainly can come up with adjusted points per game that only takes into account points scored by the opponent's offense, right?
You just
Like
have
that-
to find a cool name to give it, like Havoc, except something cooler.
The real best stat ever for defense. Does that work?
We
for
can
you?
workshop it. We can.
I don't know. Let's ask Grok. He'll know.
And I think with that,
There's only one thing left to say.
go Hawks.
Go Hawks.